Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm honored to be here. Thank you to Sifu Rizal for inviting me. This is the first time I've been invited to such a forum. And I'm very impressed that on the 1st of January, all of you decided to spend time here. So congratulations on that. And when Sifu Rizal invited me, I said, why not? Year in, year out, 1st of January, what I do? Makan tidur. So I thought, okay, it will be interesting. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Syed Mohammed Idid. I've been in the public relations realm for, this year will be coming to my 29th year. So, tua lah sangat. Yeah? I've been in and out of corporate PR. I've been with local PR companies, regional and international PR companies. And I've been in a bank, international bank. My last position was with PIDM. Siapa pernah dengar PIDM? Perbadanan. Okay, so I did my job before leaving. So, right? You all know what it does, right? PIDM, kan? So you know your money is safe, yeah? Okay. Then after that, I decided to keluar balik and step back into the world of counseling, not consulting, counseling on C-level, because a lot of CEOs, they're very lonely at the top. And when you're lonely at the top, sometimes you've got a problem with your PR. Sometimes you might not want to share it with your head of comms. The reason being, and I've been there and I understand, when you're an internal head of comms, you are paid the gaji, kan? So if your boss asks you, you got a problem, you say, no, everything is fine. Right? So yeah, sometimes it's a bit difficult to be honest, to share the truth. So being a counselor, it's much more easier to, I let people pay me to tell them in their face what's wrong. And I think it's quite nice, you know. In my entirety, being in public relations, corporate communications, these are all words. At the end of the day, it's about trust. Whether you call it corporate comms, whether you call it media relations or PR, it's about the trust that your brand has. And I think since Hani has helped you with crystallizing what the PLF brand is about, this is where the PLF forum would come into play on how you actually take that brand and create a platform where you are united when you need to face the media. Okay? Now, of course, when Sifu Rizal gave me the topic of saving face, crisis management, more often than not, when crisis hits the fan, it's very difficult to save face, you know. And one thing I have observed and learned throughout all my years, when it comes to a crisis panning out, the fault is normally our own. It's always somebody internal. It is always somebody who is in the know of the situation. It becomes a crisis when the management or the upper echelon thinks that what is going to happen, that should happen, did not happen the way it was expected. Because somebody internally went out to paint a different picture. All right? So when it comes to crisis, I think and I believe each and every one of you, Tuan-Tuan and Puan-Puan, has gone through your own personal crisis. the DNA of a crisis doesn't fall far. Crisis is always something that we thought we'll expect to jalan, tiba-tiba sangkut. That is the real cause of a crisis. Whether it's financial, whether it's family, or whether it's corporate. But coming today, I think I spoke to Sifu Rizal. It's more about how PLF, as an entity, how do you move forward and unite in case crisis arises from within the ranks. Am I correct to say that? All right. So, tell me, can anyone share with me what is your experience in crisis within the PLF sphere? Because I was told that certain things happen.
Can I help them out?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to share 4 crises that happen in the PLF, whether you're aware of it or whether you're not. And when you see this, it might bring some nostalgic memories to you. It might also bring back nightmares. Okay? But these were crises that happened in the PLF. And for some of us, we had to manage it very fast. So I'm going to show this crisis to Tuan Syed. And Tuan Syed is going to ask me how we PLFs, certain of us, especially at the COE level, how we manage it. And he's going to describe what actually happened and how we should learn from that. Okay? So, the crisis. Let's go one by one, Tuan Syed.
Yep.
The public complained about PLF who took money without delivering the merchandise. So that we had this PLF who was selling items, garments, and the garments didn't arrive, but the money was already taken. So because it became a big thing, certain members of the public brought it up, put his picture there, and there was the PLF logo there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did it come out in the press
It
itself?
came out on Facebook,
Facebook.
and it went viral. It went viral. So this is how we catered for it. Number one, we knew we had to protect the brand because the PLF there. Yeah. So the first thing we did was find the guy to get his side of the story. So when we failed to find the guy, that means we didn't know what's his side of the story. We just took whatever side of the story we had. So the public side, the complaint side. Which, number one, I came up with a disclaimer saying that this particular person did something which is not PLF way of doing things. Yeah. Yes, he was a PLF, and we have given him a certain amount of time to come forward to give his side of the story. Until then, we have nothing to do with this guy. So that was the disclaimer. So that's what we did for that particular thing.
Well, that was the right way to go, because at the end of the day, there's a crisis is very volatile. And human beings, as we are even more volatile. We can go into hiding. I think if you notice recently, anybody notice about Lim Kok Wing? Right? Did he do the right thing by shutting off his Twitter? Right? None, from the PR standpoint, he did not come and put his reason of why he made that statement. Right? Perhaps Marina Mahathir could be upset, and maybe rightfully so, but as an individual, you can still say what is said and done, what my actions were, and what I said, it still holds true of the meaning. Okay? You are a public figure, and PLF is a public brand. You cannot run away or shy away from public. So you need to take it head on. And today, I believe very much your first call to crisis is in your palm of your hands. It's your gadget, right? Social media is now the new platform that crisis will rear its ugly head. And we cannot run away from that. How do you engage them? Okay? The first thing you need to do is rightfully investigate. Validify what went wrong. If you can do the investigation and find out where the mistake or where the crisis stems from, then you do a narrative that you can actually put out there. Now, before putting out the narrative, of course, try to get it from the horse's mouth. But in this case, the horse disappeared, right? So, but knowing that, I always believe in one thing when you do communication, all right? Everything begins with a nawaitu. When you want to put a message out there to the public, what is your niyat? If your niyat is murni, your niyat is to educate and to show this is a real situation, inshallah, you'll be able to craft the right message to inform and educate that public. Okay? And very rightfully, if that crisis pops up in a certain medium, no need to go and fight it in other mediums. Focus on the same medium, because the other medium doesn't know it yet. Right? So that is one of the things I would advise. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Second crisis, a trainer sued a fellow PLF on copyright issues. Now, when I said fellow PLF, this trainer was once a PLF. So he's no longer a PLF because he doesn't claim to be a PLF, and right. What he did was not PLF values. So that's why I call him a trainer now.
Okay. Whoa, okay. That's
all right. So this particular trainer sued this PLF about copyright issues, saying that this particular PLF took his module and used it as his own and stuff like that.
So what happened?
All right. So the first thing that we did was, number one, we did a lot of background, kind of guerrilla kind of, not background check, guerrilla kind of activities, whereby I sent some people who were close to this trainer and some people who were close to the PLF go and find out what's the story. It's always getting information. Yeah, we cannot act based on assumptions. So we sent them, and they got the stories. And my first instruction is, okay, since you found the stories and this is their story and this is his story, do whatever it takes to get that crisis out of the media, because it was on Facebook. It was on Facebook. In fact, this particular trainer put it on his website, and he came out in detail what the issues were. He dedicated a website on this particular issue. So which was very sad. Very sad in the sense of these are all both good people. Yet it came to this. And it's being exploded. It was exploding on the website.
Was the reason resulting on taking of clients, or?
He's saying that this PLF took his module and used it without his permission. And he was saying that this person came out with invoices and was being fraudulent in so many ways. Yeah. Based on the information that we got from both sides, we found both guilty. Both were wrong, in many ways. Our job was to ensure that take it to court, go ahead, take it to court, but stop bringing it up on the media, because then the word PLF is there. Our concern was the PLF. I had to take care of my family. So I don't want that to be dragged out. And this is, because as it went on to the media, you could see people taking sides. Yeah. And it was very ugly. Yeah? So I sent these people to calm things down. We managed to calm one side down. We failed to manage the other side, and it was brought to court. And the court found the person guilty, this particular PLF in particular guilty, and was charged. But the thing is, it did not stop. It's still growing.
Right.
Interestingly. Yeah.
Well, it's something. It's not the same. But recently, anyone listen to BFM 89.9? You know about the sex harassment scandal? Okay. That was somebody who's an ex-staff who had this sort of information. They were sending WhatsApp about some sexual misdemeanors, and the persons involved are senior producers, right? But Malik Ali, who is the owner of BFM, what they did, and actually what maybe you can look into in the future, is put a statement out stating this, claiming these two individuals, and saying that this is a personal, private matter and has no connection or implication to the PLF fraternity, and explain why, right? And say we have discovered this and we are allowing these two to proceed with their legal recourse. So at least when you put that up on Facebook, right, it is very clear you are distancing yourself from them, okay? BFM was different. BFM did not take sides, but they were very clear in terms of telling the public that they have brought in independent lawyers, and all the staff in BFM had direct access to these lawyers so they can actually be interviewed. So if anybody wants to spill the beans or say anything, the management is very clear that they are not involved. So they're not going to be entangled in that, right? So one of the key things now, looking at these two examples, is knowing that, and you all have to acknowledge this, A, the PLF brand, is it your brand? If every one of you say, it is my brand, then you must protect it. How do you all protect your own brand? It's like protecting your family, all right? Things will not go as smoothly as any family. I know. I've been married twice. So, but there are things where you know, as a family, you need to come together and protect. In this case, the children, right? And here, what you are protecting is your own sustainability, your own livelihood. And if you look at each other in the room, as a family, in your hearts of heart, your Nawaitu will say, I'm not going to hurt this person, I'm not going to knock this person. So once you have that value, as Hani has brought out, what is your value? Okay? Use those value as your guiding point. And I believe, as I spoke to you, maybe one of the things now, I don't know, how do they sign up as PLF members?
They go for a 3-day program with me. And after that 3-day program, we recognize them as PLFs.
Are they given any certification?
Only if they are audited for mastery, yes.
But I think now we should have, because it's a family, and because you're coming out from outside, maybe there is some sort of family contract that you need to sign, that you're going to protect each other's brand reputation, and ultimately protecting the overarching brand of PLF. I think everybody must have that commitment to sign off on this. It's just like joining an organization. When you join a company, when you sign as an employee, right, you're also signing into the family, you're also signing into the culture of the organization. And you have to do your darnest to make sure the reputation of that organization is not tarnished at all, and that you'll do everything in your power to protect it. Another thing maybe I can share with you is, in PIDM, we have what we call a social media policy, right? If you have, because each of you are running your own businesses, right? There needs to be an overarching policy that will shape the direction of each of you, in terms that you agree that if it's anything that is going to be, that, let's say for example, Nauzubillah min zalik, that you have this situation with your own family member, that you will not involve the PLF name, right? And that you will not put it into the public sphere. I had a client before who did not believe that Facebook and Twitter was public. Okay? And he's a corporate captain. And I tell him, sorry, Dato, it is public. You know? So if you all can have that social contract between yourselves, that would be a good start, because we don't know where the wind blows, right? And things like this, I don't think the two gentlemen expected to happen in the first place, right?
Well, just for your information, we didn't have that. Why? Because what binds us together is, to me, is religion. We're Muslims. You do good, you go to heaven. You do bad, you go to hell. You bring up the PLF name, you go to heaven. You bring it down, you go to...
Yeah, I understand that. And that's what they said, that PAS is now going to with UMNO. Because they were saying UMNO, right? Yes, we believe, that's why I said it starts with the Nawaitu, right? When we have something, we ikhtiar and we believe, Allah, please lead us the right way.
Yeah.
But the whispers of shaitan is very, very strong.
Yeah.
And it gets stronger and louder as we see green, right? The American dollar already say, in God we trust. But somehow we don't see that word, in God we trust. We only see the green, So it's more of, for me, it's an emotional and yet psychological act. When you have something, perhaps during the training, it may not be individualized social contract. It could be an entire plug that everybody signs off. I mean, your next session, your next training, maybe we have something there, We as the PLF family will always protect the reputation of each other and the overall brand of PLF. Now you could have a big wall, everybody signs it, you can put it in your office. That's the commitment. It's the same.
Something to
Surat nikah pun kena sign. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, third one. A PLF got into a public argument on FB.
With other people?
This particular PLF brought the concept of, his subject matter is pornography is bad for everybody, and so he's bringing it up, to the world. And of course, there are people who disagree with him. So when they disagree with him, they take it up with him on social media, and he makes the mistake to argue with these people, and he gets ugly.
But how did the other people that is arguing were just the mass?
Yeah,
but he had his PLF brand.
Well, because he is a PLF, so therefore he arguing on Facebook too is something that consensus.
Right.
So what we did on this particular person was send PLFs to him and sit down with him to calm him down. PLF ni adalah orang-orang yang tenang lagi menenangkan. Why are you stirring up? Yeah. So we sent some PLFs to calm him down, and sometimes he did not calm down. We sent a stronger PLF to knock him down.
Is he still with PLF family?
Yeah, yes, he is. Alhamdulillah, yes, he is. Alhamdulillah, inshallah.
Okay. So things like this is very similar to, I had a staff once, and that time, just to tell how old I am, because that time we didn't have Instagram or Facebook, right? But there were blogs. I wasn't privy to her blog. One of the other staff member was, and they got shocked because she had a bad experience with someone during one of our events, and it was the client's event. And she's those type that will use expletive, And of course, it turned out to be another friend of the client was a friend and showed that blog to the client, right? So it's similar to today's situation. Any employee should not be putting out their personal vents into the public sphere, because it will impact. And as you said, if all of us are guided by our religion, We should be calm. We should be sabar. We should have akal to think, you know. And you're very right. You've come to a stage now, anybody in Facebook has already made up their mind. Whatever you say, there will be a counter, right? So I see a lot of posts myself. Sometimes terasa juga want to correct this person, right? That's our naluri. Then you looked at it. Then you read throughout the circling people who comment. And if you see there are more people who support his kind of view, you know you're going to go in a losing battle. So why bother? And actually, sometimes you just take a step back. And this is what my wife taught me lah. So you say that at the benefit lah. Then think about it. None. Right? What you want to engage in social media is something constructive that will build you and the brand. Right? You want to put thoughts, you want to put statements, you want to share ideas, you want to share experiences that are beneficial, yang bermanfaat. So that should be the initial nawaitu that you should start if you want to plant anything in social media, right? And then
finally, a person declaring bringing props in the form of animal statues were haram.
What was the situation? Was it also in Facebook?
You see, in my programs, one of my props is I bring this bird called the bangau.
Right.
Yeah, because I talk about stop giving excuses, so I say stop bangawing, and there you go. I have this prop, and I talk about the story. This particular person came out on Facebook and says anybody who brings a bangau on the table is haram, and left it at that. Yeah. The only person who brings the bangau on the table will be me. Yeah, and I'm known for that.
Was it on the PLF Facebook page, or was just
that was
a
put
random
on his Facebook page, whereby other PLFs who are friends with him suddenly saying, this person is saying this. Now, when I got that, my first reaction was shut up. Yeah, my first reaction was shut up. Because if I were responded then I'd be very emotional.
Yeah.
When I get emotional, so many things come out of your mouth. So I shut up until the end of the day. I've totally calmed down and totally reread what this particular person said. Then I noticed the first comment that somebody gave towards that statement, that post, was a guy who often attacked us because of the same thing.
Okay.
So suddenly I realized this guy is learning from that guy.
Okay.
So then we said, as we usually say, when things happen, we say, that's interesting. And that's how I responded there. So I said, okay, that's interesting. This person has found a new teacher. Because the person who came up with the post was a PLF.
So the bangau of feather flock together lah.
More or less. So what happened was I shut up because I said it was not worth it. He is this teacher who has been attacking us since so long, so it's not worth the fight, and we left it at that.
And honestly, that's the right way to go. I've just been invited by Chief Justice Tan Sri Richard Malanjun because he's my father's friend. My father's a retired judge. He feels that the judiciary is having some challenges with social media, right? And one of the latest one, I think you all would have seen, netizens were up in arms because in Penang, somebody punched the bus driver and then only kena 1,000 ringgit, right? So people were like, you physically harmed a human being and you only charge 1,000 ringgit. Now, of course, after speaking to special officers who are all lawyers, most of us are uneducated, as Tun say, we are. We're uneducated about the law, and there are different terms and levels of law. And one of that falls within certain section, and that punch falls under that. But for us, we see it as a physical abuse, right? Now, he actually wanted to, because of the netizen spiraling and viraling out into the media and in Facebook and all that, he wanted to go and tell that judge in Penang to relook. And I was saying, Tan Sri, maybe no. Because if you start reacting to netizens and the court of public opinion, when are we going to be a court of law? Right? So sometimes it's good to take a step back and look at the whole scenario and how detrimental is it to the brand. Sometimes it's us, we are house proud of our own brand. Yeah, we are, because we build the brand ourselves. It's a baby. My first CEO, Terry Blaney from MDK, always told me, every brand owner is like a new parent. No matter how ugly their baby is, they're the most beautiful things in the world, right? And this is how we take our brands personally and seriously. So sometimes when people start to hit our brand, we react. But now we know better. Sometimes we don't have to react. Sometimes we just observe how things go, right? Similarly, going back to that Datuk who thought Twitter and social media was private, okay? He got lambasted by two persons. And he wanted to go back in a big way with vengeance. I told him, chill, Datuk, because the statement firstly was on a Saturday. And Twitter sphere, after 5 minutes is buried. But if he went back and counted those negative hits, he's going to start inviting people because they will be seeing his brand. And my son, my e-gamer son has taught me this. They call me Walid for dad. So, Walid, don't be so easily triggered. So I learned the word triggered. So more often than not, social media has made us very easy to be triggered by things. But if we go back to what Islam teaches us, what will Rasulullah do? I always ask myself that. If Rasulullah is alive, if he sees that, what is he going to do? You talk about Islam, you talk about the negativity of it. Is he going to jump? Is he going to take out his mitna and ask everybody Allahu Akbar? I don't think so. So I said, why are we so gung-ho about certain things? So sometimes it's to take stock, and that was my sign for another, 5 minutes? Asif. 5 minutes more, is it? 10 minutes more. Okay. I thought I had less time because Hani that took my time. So, in a nutshell, when it comes to crisis, all right, I think for PLF, what you need to do is, maybe there are crisis plans out there. You need to identify people, because you are a nationwide body. So you need to identify a leader, right, who is able to be a Sifu Rizal in their own state. This is where branding comes into play. I always believe that you all need to, if you're in a brand, to assimilate the brand value, the DNA of the person who is leading it, right? Because then you can go in a very singular, unified track. So the key thing is, if any of you now, when you go back, if you spot something which you think is going to explode into a crisis for PLF, do you know what's the first thing you should do? Anybody? If you think something on social media that you see is leading towards a crisis for PLF brand, what is the first thing that you should do? All correct. With that delayed judgment, quickly notify Sifu Rizal first. Right? Do not go, take charge. Do not engage. The last thing we ever want for an organization, an entity, is for everybody to take charge in this. He should be the only one taking charge. All right? What you all can do in taking charge is by funneling and sharing that potential bomb to him. All right? At least then he knows where it's coming from and what is the potential conduit that it may be exploded to. So far you're pretty safe because it's all in the social media sphere. All right? Nobody has said, I'm going to take it into the media. Okay? And I think that one, we can discuss media engagement in another format if Sifu Rizal allows me for our next session. Because dealing with the media is another planet altogether. Okay? So, in a nutshell, the first takeaway that you all must do now, if you do smell or see anything that may be potentially harmful to the PLF brand, remember your family, report to Big Daddy first. Okay? You can screenshot anything and say, look, I think it is. You can observe how it pans out and how it peels through, but you will be observing and seeing how it actually evolves. Then you can decide. Okay? More often than not, for social media, I will always give it a span of 48 hours because you want to see what are the comments that are coming in. And why you can take comfort in social media, you all know the Malaysian Insight? You all visit the site? I'm with the PR Consultant Association, so we invited Jahabah Sadiq, the founder of Malaysian Insight. And he mentioned this, and rightly so, to us PR practitioners. Don't get so riled up about things that are coming out and popping out in social media. Because the reality of the social media conduit, he calls it the bangsa. Those who are living in Bangsa. Right? What he's saying is actually we are the elite group of people. And technically we're very small. So don't let it rile up and fluster your brand so much. Yes, there might be some implication, but don't jump out with a gun blazing. That's his advice. The real thing is what you have done in terms of potential crisis popping out, always go to the source. Seek that horse. Get the truth from that person, because you don't know what actually transpired and what actually inspired that person to come out like that. Sometimes it could be no fault of that person too. But always, like I said, ultimately crisis is about countering things that may not be correct about the brand reputation, but rebuilding trust. So to rebuild the trust, you need to engage. And similarly what Jahabah said to us PR consultants, we need to engage and we need to turun padang. So if you are in a certain area and you notice something is brewing, you share it with Sifu Rizal, and you can decide whether based on the relationship on the ground, they can see and meet the person and find out what's the truth behind that facade or the picture, or hold it and then decide whether you want to approach it. At the end of the day, you are professionals, you're always learning, and this is how you need to facilitate all these things that are going to come towards you, right? So after talking to you all, I have 2 more minutes. I would like to call PLF passionate, loving family. I think with those values inside you, I don't think any one of you will want to go out and be nasty to one another. Inshallah. Okay? So, any questions?
Nazrin.
Sure.
Thank you very much for the sequencing. I like the investigate first and then the narrative. So, in your opinion, how many types of narratives are there out there?
Oh, he came out with the other, yeah. Well, you also have to understand the culture and the idiosyncrasies of the Brits. Okay, I don't think if that KFC became the, here we'll have different netizens bringing hell and high water. We're going to, KDN will come into play. I think we've got to be realistic and pragmatic about our society. So I think narratives also comes from the culture, and the culture is set internally, right? Once that culture is set, you know what sort of tone, what sort of lingo that you want to speak to each other. Those are things that we're comfortable with. And if somebody goes out of that parameter in terms of language usage, you know they're not that within the PLF DNA. Okay? But what you need to do is, if you talk about scenario planning, with each of you, maybe you can have this session, because I believe crisis is never one size fits all problem. Every crisis that hit from the BP Deepwater Horizon to the Tylenol crisis, where the pills were tampered with, nobody knew, nobody realized that it's going to be here. And I've always told my own PR peers, it is very, foolhardy of us when we talk about crisis management plans to come up with a crisis management dossier that's this thick. Honestly, when it hits the fan, do you have time to read all this? What is important is crisis preparedness simulation. And maybe we can do a session about coming together, do a workshop, because I wouldn't know your crisis, right? I know what can lead to a crisis. But you guys and ladies would know internally through your business dealings, through PLF route journey, what potential crisis might come out, because you all have your angles. From that, we can actually streamline what are the most common thoughts or views of crises that may hit PLF. And then from that, do a structural mapping of identifying the danger level. Sometimes we're scared of our own shadow, something like that. We think, oh, it's going to be a crisis, but actually it's not. Then there's something that it's amber. Maybe we just let Seafood Rizal be aware, let them investigate. Then maybe that's DEFCON 4, where everybody needs to come into play. So once you structure that, and once you look at all the plausible scenarios, that's where you can start creating your narratives on how to put out the fire, on how to communicate internally. Because I always believe that communications is always inside out. If you're not believers of the brand, you cannot sell the brand. And with that, they tell me time's up.
Before we let Tuan Syed go, I need to make you understand why he's here. The crisis that happens in the PLF family happens every day. And it goes to me. You can ask Rohaya kat belakang to how I spend nights managing those crises. It may be a personal crisis, it may be a family crisis, but here I am, checking it out, helping everybody so that this family stays together. And I'm tired. Yeah, I cannot do this alone. Yeah, I need more results out there to help manage the crisis at your level. Yeah, because this result is going to die. You're going to die also. So before we all die, we want to protect the family. Yeah, let's not die together. We want to protect the family. So that's why I brought Tuan Syed up here. Yeah, so that we learn to manage the crisis, not just pass to me saja. Yeah, if it can be done at your level, then do it. Yeah, kalau tak, tak ada result nanti.
Yes, let me qualify that. When I say pass to him, is the big matters. Small matters.
Thank you very much, Tuan Syed. Yeah.